If you disappear for days without explanation, ignore messages without guilt, and feel a wave of relief when plans get canceled, this is not just liking your space. It is something deeper your brain is doing, and there is a real psychological reason for it. Here are 5 signs you secretly crave isolation and why it is happening. Most people assume that wanting to be alone is antisocial. Psychology disagrees. The need for solitude is a legitimate psychological state, documented across decades of personality and neuroscience research. Psychologist Esther Buchholz argued that solitude is not the opposite of connection, it is a requirement for it. The brain needs time alone to consolidate experience, regulate emotion, and restore cognitive resources. But in some people, that need runs deeper than usual. And when it goes unmet, the signs show up in patterns most people mistake for moodiness, rudeness, or simple introversion. Most people feel mild disappointment when plans fall through. You feel relief. Immediate, disproportionate, genuine relief. Not because you dislike the person, but because your nervous system was already quietly bracing for the energy cost of showing up. Psychologists call this anticipatory social fatigue, the drain that begins before the interaction even starts. When the plan cancels, it is not the social event you are relieved about losing. It is the preparation, the performance, the energy you were already spending to get ready to engage. That relief is information. Your brain is telling you it was already at capacity. A single evening out leaves you needing a full day alone to feel like yourself again. Not tired in a physical sense, something closer to depleted at a deeper level. This is not introversion alone. Neuroscience shows that high social sensitivity involves more active processing of social stimuli in the brain. More faces read, more tones analyzed, more emotional subtext tracked automatically without choice. The brain does more work in the same amount of time. And more work requires more recovery. The days you need alone are not wasted time. They are maintenance. You observe more than you participate. At gatherings, at group conversations, you find yourself stepping back and taking it in rather than throwing yourself into it. And later alone, you process what you saw with a clarity that was not available in the room. This is not shyness. Shyness involves anxiety about participation. This is a genuine preference for the position of witness over participant. Psychologists link this to high sensory processing sensitivity, a trait present in roughly 20% of the population. Highly sensitive people absorb more information per interaction than most. Participating uses bandwidth. Watching preserves it. The distance is not disconnection. It is how you stay present without burning out. There is a version of you that only exists in solitude. Clearer, quieter, more honest. In social settings, something adapts, adjusts, performs, not in a bad way, but something shifts. And alone, that adaptation drops. And what is left feels more true. Psychologist Donald Winnicott described this as the capacity to be alone, the ability to exist in your own presence without needing external input to feel real. He considered it one of the most important markers of psychological maturity. People who feel most themselves alone are not broken. They are more closely wired to their own internal state than to external validation. And that wiring is also the source of a depth of self-knowledge most people never develop. It is not that you hate people. It is that too much external stimulation, noise, movement, competing conversations begins to feel physically uncomfortable. Like a signal being overloaded. This is called sensory overload. And in people who crave isolation, it arrives faster and more intensely than in most. The irritability that follows is not a mood. It is a nervous system response, a biological signal that says, too much is coming in, I need less. Which is why the craving for isolation often peaks precisely in the situations where isolation is hardest to find. The irritation is not the problem. The unmet need for space is. Craving isolation is not a personality flaw. It is not antisocial. It is not a sign something is wrong with you. It is a nervous system with specific requirements. One that processes more, absorbs more, and consequently needs more time to recover. The people who crave solitude most are often also the ones who, when they do show up, are the most present, the most observant, the most genuinely there. because they chose to be there. And that choice cost them something real, which is exactly why when you are not there, you are somewhere that costs less and gives more back. Which of these 5 signs felt most familiar? Let me know in the comments. If this helps subscribe, I will see you in the next one.